What do you see as the biggest challenge for B2B marketers when it comes to generative AI?
The biggest concern is that people are going to run to ChatGPT. They're going to put in some pretty general terms. It's going to crank out some pretty good writing, right? But the concern is that it's a circle. It only knows what it knows that it's gathered from the internet. So that's the problem, right? Google really wants, or Google or any of the search engines, they want really unique content. They want content that people want to read. And if you've done much research or much writing with AI, you'll realize it's pretty good, but it's not great. It's not super engaging. You really have to know how to use it. You really have to become a prompt engineer. And so if
Yep.
content writers today can become good prompt engineers and not just rely on what the AI spits out, but they're still putting in original ideas, they can get original out, right? It's garbage in, garbage out, or great ideas in and great AI generated or assisted
Mhm.
content out.
What is it about the stuff that AI puts out right now that's just okay in your opinion?
Yeah. So part of it's tone and voice. Unless you've learned, here again, if these content writers and copywriters out there are concerned about having their job taken, become an incredible AI prompt engineer. And your writing ability will really shine and you'll become superhuman. And you'll do a great job. It really is great for that. But in terms of the output, the concern is you put in something general, right? Write me an article about XYZ. It's gonna give you very general because all it's done is gone out there, collected most of the content that's been written by Fiverr content writers. And I don't mean to pick on Fiverr. I mean
Sure.
anywhere we generate a penny, a 2 cents a piece, nickel a word content. If we go out there and do that, it's just gonna respit that out. So what you do to be superhuman is one, you can train it on your voice and style. You learn how to do that. You put in a prompt, you put in writing style examples, and it will
Mm.
learn. And you say, from here on out, write in this style, write in this way. Don't use exclamation points. And there's even a level of imagination that you can tell it to use. Kind of go
Mm.
wild or stay closer to facts. So learning how to do that will make you superhuman in that way. The other thing is be very specific. Find a topic, find something interesting, and then ask AI about that and then generate pieces, right? You should rarely be putting something to GPT or any other writing tool that's on AI and just copying pasting out. So if
Yeah.
you're very specific, if you're digging deep with it, helping it to get new ideas, then you can come out with some really great content.
There's just a lot of farming out of this kind of work to
Yeah.
freelancers or even just agencies, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I think usually, correct me if I'm wrong in your experience, but when you start doing that, you're already kind of settling for something that's going to be just a little bit flatter, have a little bit less depth than what someone who's living the content every day. Maybe this is just part of that continuum.
Well, you're right, and I don't mean to slant this too much towards SEO, but as a VP in software companies for last 10 plus years, it's kind of how I think. And think about it, Google, Bing, these other SERPs, they've spent probably a good plus 80% plus of their time trying to find the content that's just being mass produced and saying, this isn't good enough.
Mm,
I'm not giving this to people. So I personally
yeah.
don't even think it's good enough for SEO. I've shied away from it for years. In fact, I've wherever I have had the ability to as a VP of marketing, I've always brought an in-house content writer, someone that's
Hmm.
sitting with product, someone that's sitting with customers, someone that's even going to trade shows. What are the keywords? What are the buzzwords? These things set off alarms, right? We all have these BS
Yeah.
filters in our head and we don't consciously know it. But when we're reading, we know when someone knows us, they get us.
Yeah.
And you need a content writer that's embedded enough in your industry and maybe even company that can talk like that, communicate like that. That really naturally bubbles up.
What you just said would really seem to cut against the grain, I think, for the kind of the whole, like much of the value of something like ChatGPT, which is it can do it so much faster,
Yeah.
right? We can spend so much less time and it'll just pump this stuff out and we go over it, right? But are these things maybe diametrically opposed to a certain degree? Clearly, the more time you spend on a given piece, the more depth it's going to have, the more nuanced it's going to be.
Yeah, and so let's loop back to that. Instead of taking a week, let's take 2 weeks. I'm even rethinking
Yeah.
that statement because now what we can do is we can use AI to cut that need of 2 weeks down into 1 week. And I'll give you an example of how. We take an idea. In fact, you can feed a persona. You can feed your user personas into AI and say, "Argue with me. Give me
Mm,
feedback on this." And you can throw ideas at it that you're thinking or writing on, and it will give you and help give you new ideas or new angles or new ways to think about it. You can put in a title and say, "I am creating a YouTube video about X subject. It'll be about this. Give me 25 headlines," right? Or, "This is going on social media. Give me 25 versions of this for a tweet or a LinkedIn post." And it will
yeah.
crank those out. So what you're doing with that is and you use it to brainstorm ideas too. So
Yeah.
you can take that 2 weeks maybe now, still have that great human touch in it and produce it in a week. That's where I think the real value will
Mm.
be until or if it ever does come up to being, I want to put this in and come out with really great content.